going live now. Hello. Sorry about that. Just having
Hey
a
everyone.
little
And
technical shenanigans as normal.
I'm
Oh, hope you're all super duper well.
well. Steve is well.
Stevie's well, is she? I'm
Yeah.
well too.
Swimming. She wants dinner. She wants to see her brothers, uncles, whatever.
Oh, brothers, uncles, various relatives,
Yeah.
whoever else.
Now she's hearing the people in this squeaking in the
Right,
street.
so we've got some people watching.
Yay! Hello everyone.
Yay! Although, as it was last week when I was on my own, it's not showing me the comments, which is very frustrating. Um, but I'm sure I can get them somehow. I did see some. I'm sure Barrett was there. So yes, if you could give us a wave, let us know if you're there. Just tried to go on Facebook and look at the comments. There was
Yeah, I'm getting rid of Stevie now.
This is really bizarre. I keep trying to find the comments and it's showing me the weirdest things. But anyway, not to worry, I shall get there. So all I know at the moment is there are 5 people watching, but this is really weird. I keep clicking on it and then it goes to somebody completely different that isn't me. Um, so I hope everybody is super well while I just try and work out why I can't see any blooming comments. Which is there we go. Yes, LJ, you would have kept using me on YouTube because the reason was it's kept not going live on Facebook. So that's why. Hi, Barrett. Hi, Iris. Hi, Carmela. I finally can see you all, which is absolutely delightful. I'll just bob onto YouTube. How is everybody? Drop us a quick message saying how things are, what you've been up to. All that kind of stuff. Any wins that you've had with your dogs? Let us know. The world is full of glitches today. Can't get on anything at the moment. So yeah, how is life? Got all sorts of people watching, which is a whole heap of fun. Whole heap of fun.
No, it's here.
Hi Sue, how are you? Hope you're well.
Here it is.
So what I'm going to talk about is the title of the what we're talking about today is acceptance, why acceptance is the key to success. Hey Alison. Now, what it isn't going to be is telling you that you have to just accept, my dog is a insert breed name here, therefore I just have to accept that they will insert, whatever behavior it is, because it's not necessarily the choice, the case. So that's what it's not going to be about. But what it is going to be about is about understanding our dogs, accepting who they are, and using that as the basis for moving along. Oh, who have we got? So, Sue's been too hot for any videoing during the day. Yes, my son who's now in Melbourne. You're in Perth, aren't you, Sue? Did I get that right? Yeah, he was saying it's been pretty warm, and the Melbourne you tend to get the weather after Perth, don't you? It kind of goes over. Successful vet visit for Carmela and no reactivity for a month. What a flaming win!
That's amazing to say.
That's
Not that that is
really cool.
amazing that happened. It's just like a best thing to
Really good.
say, right?
Amazing.
But there's lots of successes in
There
the
is, isn't there? This is
yeah.
brilliant.
Many good walks, very little reaction from Iris. So she's feeling much more relaxed. That is such a great place to get to, isn't it?
It really is.
And Barrett says we managed to walk calm and responsive, far enough distance behind a neighbor dog yesterday. That's brilliant. And LG says Bodhi doesn't get the zoomies on the long line anymore, or if he does, then little hand signal gets him back now. No, I can't. I don't see that. Sorry, but sorry, I had to paraphrase because it jumped and I couldn't see it anymore.
You've just totally lost the ability to say
Yeah.
words. Yeah, that can happen.
LG says accepting Bodhi for who he is my new superpower. Yay.
Yay!
And Iris has recall also excellent. Will disengage and come back when called. Yay! That's so good. I love hearing all the successes. This is
It really,
really, really, really, really, really
it's
super,
why we're
super.
here, isn't it? Definitely why you are here. So, yes. Okay, so have you ever felt really frustrated trying to teach your dog how to do something specific, like a particular behavior? So, if you have, could you put a tomato in the comments? And if you haven't felt frustrated and it's all gone lovely and smoothly, could you put a strawberry in the comments, please? Are you laughing at me? She's so rude. Tess has been more into bunny hunting than worrying about the dogs. That's a whole new kind of a level of things to work on. Yes, so more reactions during night walks in the dark. He says things I can't. That's really common. Really common. Loads of straws. Oh, I like strawberries.
Good.
No, tomatoes. They're not tomatoes, strawberries. They're tomatoes. I do beg your pardon. Tomatoey people. So Iris has got 3 tomatoes, so that's lots of things. Carmela's got 3 tomatoes, lots of things. Berit and Sue, just the individual tomato. So Alison's got a tomato. If you would like, do you want to share, if you can remember, what behavior it was or what behaviors it was that they really struggled with? What was it in particular? LJ's frustrated with herself, not Bodhi. Yeah, that's the story of my life.
While we listening to this, just one of the announcements for this live,
Yes.
Andy and Katrina put some comments on it, which I really liked.
Ooh.
Sandy said that my biggest struggle was understanding the dog I got, accepting his unique personality and letting go of those hallmark images of the dog I imagined spending the rest of my days with. From that point, we started really bonding and making progress. A true lesson in love, acceptance, and humility. Isn't that beautiful?
It is. That's really nice. And I can relate to that because of, my dogs didn't come from your kind of nice puppy breeder background. They had an interesting and checkered past, and they're never going to be like the normal people's dogs.
Mhm.
They're always going to be a little bit special, but accepting that and just making sure that we have the best lives together that we can is so important. Um, Carmela is now a strawberry. I think you should put that on a t-shirt. I am now a strawberry. So yeah, the issues that you
Ah.
had in terms of the lunging and the barking and stuff, you kind of get what you're doing now, which is perfect, isn't it? It's exactly where you need to be.
Mm.
All perfect. Loose lead walking with Sue. Yeah. When you'd ignore my recall and I kick myself putting in a situation where he couldn't succeed, LJ. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get that. Iris, mostly in the early days when I think I didn't get my timings right, such as recall, calling over and over again rather than giving the chance to disengage and come back. Yeah. And with some of the time it's about, what dog you've got. For example, say you've got and I am going to make some generalizations based on breed now, which I probably shouldn't, but say you've got a spaniel and you struggle with loose lead walking because your dog has got their nose on the ground all the time.
Mhm.
And that's part of, what they were bred to do. It's
Mhm.
part of who they are.
Mhm.
So having that kind of that balance between who they are and what you need and what they need is going to be massively important. Yeah, Carmela's going out to get her t-shirt printed now. I can see it coming.
I think taking our dog's breed characteristics into account is really, really, really important. Remember when we were talking to um, about this at the festival and with the legs approach
Oh, we
and
can.
and and genetics always play a big, big role, what the dog was originally bred for. Of course, we have lots of variety within the breed. Every
Of
individual is
course.
different. We can't stereotype them, but a lot of things will be explained. A lot of struggles will be explained if we look at what was the intent, right? What was the purpose? What is the dog actually meant to do? And the problems often come because we can't give them that outlet in that way anymore, or in a pet dog or in a city dog or even in a country, when we have lots of space and all of those things, but we might not train them to be gun dogs or retrieve things or be ratters or whatever. So never mind the variety within a breed, we still have the fact
Yeah.
that they were, and you will have outliers always. I mean, it's always important to get to know your own dog.
Mm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they don't, whatever that breed characteristic is, they don't all manifest it in the same ways. And they don't have all, the complexity is enormous. And our dogs are really complex individuals. And they're like with any relationship, they deserve that we take the time to really get to know them and not just go in there with expectations and then get cross when our expectations are met. And I'm not saying everybody's doing this. I'm just saying that with any relationship, that can happen quite easily. We go into something with preconceived ideas,
It's
hopes,
interesting, isn't it?
you know.
Really is. I mean,
I-
I think your situation actually is a bit of a case in point, isn't it? In that you've got three border collies some of whom are related, from all of whom came from the same breeder.
Not all of
Not
them,
all
but
of
a
them.
few of them. Mhm.
Yeah, two of
The
them
two,
did though, didn't
the
they?
two unrelated ones.
The two unrelated ones came from the
So
same
put that
breeder.
in your mic and make some,
Yeah.
whatever,
Um,
Anyway,
uh,
yeah.
and
Mm,
so they do have similar needs in terms of they need to work, they need to have a job, they need to have, lots of focused things to do, but they're very different, aren't they?
very
And more
different.
different than you might expect.
Very, very different. Very different. Oh, and part of the whole expectation thing also happened because my oldest sired the middle child, and I kind of, when I read them, I thought I'll get a carbon copy. I mean, how you kind of think something against better knowledge, better, but you still think so, kind of a thing,
Yeah,
and then you get something completely different.
exactly.
I mean, it's not that they, you can see, and very often people tell me, oh, they look so like her, telling them apart. I keep mistaking the one for the other, and I'm like, really?
It's like with your own
But
children, isn't it? You've got twins.
yeah, but they're not twins. They really look quite different, mine. But they also have similarities, absolutely. You can see that they're related totally. And then in their they're very different in temperament, very different, and in their work ethic and how they are around the house, very different.
Mm.
Um, but there's also training, right? And so first that put that fact that I expected this and got that, plus where I was, my life situation, what happened with the one dog, and lots of people have heard the story, so not going to go into any details. So a lot happened, and I lost two dogs in quick succession, and well, a whole bunch of things, and some people might relate to this, kind of put a bit of a spanner in the works, made it harder for me to bond with with the younger dog when I got him, and also really accepting him for who he was wasn't so easy. But now I'm at the point where I really like him. I mean, I love him and I really like him as a person, if you know what I mean. Because you can love
Totally.
somebody and still not like them. But no, I really like him, and he's getting, a lot of the difficulties are disappearing. And I've
Yeah.
heard, and I've often heard trainers talk about this, how, temperament, yes, temperament is important, but in the end, there's so much that you can do with training to have a lovely relationship with your dog and also help them overcome, the difficult things. And, I would hear this and I think, yeah, but I'm not sure if I can do this. So I'd rather have the perfect
Mm.
dog to begin with. The
Wouldn't it
perfect
be
dog doesn't
nice?
exist.
No. And
The
you try and
perfect
get the
dog
perfect dog and you won't. We got a couple
you
of
set
questions and
you set
comments.
yourself up for
Oh
disappointment.
gosh, yeah, every time.
Yeah.
So Carmelia said when Hobbs was young, he never sniffed. I thought I had the best. I've just remembered something that I was asked to do earlier today, and that is put captions on the video.
Oh, can you do that?
Apparently.
So the one that I'm seeing now does have captions.
There we go. So that should be on there. So anyway, sorry. Carmela thought she had the best spaniel in the world. Turned out he was too anxious to sniff, which is sad. And now he sniffs all the time because he's happy. Excellent. So
Yes.
LJ said when she realised that Bodhi wasn't suited for service dog work in all environments and focused on all that he can do, our life got so much better. Um, and Iris says learning about who he is, what he needs, makes all the difference to me understanding how to connect with him. Hadn't really appreciated he had a certain amount of prey drive as a spaniel. Yeah. And Alison says, and this is one that resonated with me quite a lot actually. Does that mean if you have not a clue about the breed and you have 20 plus breeds that getting to know them and providing for them is more difficult? Tess, who's a Romy with multiple unknown breeds. And Tess is like Hattie and Dash. Hattie, I
Yeah.
think, is, her genetic test said 17. It's probably God knows how many. Dashes said it was 23. Again, goodness knows how many. But there are certain things you can look for. So you can look for, if you look at the physiology of your dog, you can get an idea of the
Mhm.
sort of genetics that they're going to be similar to. So Dash is quite houndy. Hattie's just a special little soldier, really, isn't she? But she's quite terriery. I have a sneaky suspicion that there is a little bit of Chihuahua-ness because she's got very forward-facing eyes in there somewhere. And there's probably some German Shepherds in there as well. So I kind of get a little bit of an inkling from that physicality and also from how they behave as to, what they might have been bred for. So I can use that as some information. But at the end of the day, when you've got a dog like that, you are looking at the dog in front of you. This is the dog that you have. And that's where you've got to be a little bit canny and understand, looking at your dog's behavior, what clues are they giving you as to what they really want to be doing? What if they could do anything, what would it be? What are their strengths in life? Are they that sniffy, followy, hunty dog? Have they got a big prey drive? Do they herd? Hattie can be quite herdy actually. She says that she's the bit like a corgi. She's a bit like that. Um, so it means you're much more of a detective because you don't have the obvious breed clue that people who know what their breeds their dogs are actually have. We have to be a little bit more of a detective. Oh, Barbara, you are Carmela's mirror.
Sort of.
So Sue has her second Finnish lap hunt. He's so different to a first calm dog, but he's so much more affectionate. Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? Even though, as Barbara said, having that understanding of breed, what our dogs were bred to do, yes, it's important, but we need to understand the variation within that breed is also massive. You know, when we're talking about breed variations, that's kind of almost one dimension, isn't it? But then there are several dimensions of individual variations. So yeah, it's the whole picture that matters. It's just that the breed can give us some clues to steer us in the right direction. Lots of super good points there. Are you okay, Barbara? You're just choking
No,
to death.
sorry.
Please don't do that.
No, I won't, but I might have to put my microphone on mute and
Oh,
choke
bless
it
her.
out for a minute.
Okay, let me ask everybody another question. So, could you let us know? God, I'm starting it now. What specific traits you've learned to embrace in your dog and how that has affected your relationship. So, think of the traits that you have found difficult, but now you've embraced them and you're working with them. That has started to make life a heck of a lot easier for you and your dog. So, if you just let us know. We've just watched, well, hopefully Barbara doesn't die. Is that Falky? Yeah, I thought it was. I'm not very good at telling the difference between Barbara's dogs. I do, well, I know which one Stevie is. I just forget which one's which with Falcon and Noah. When they're together, I'm cool. Now, I wasn't, but I am now. Took a while.
But I'm okay now. I'm not going to die.
You're not going to die, you sure?
Mm.
Phew.
No,
You still,
not now,
you
anyway.
still have jobs to do.
Yes. I think it's my punishment for gobbling chips on the live.
Were
And
you?
I just got
Were they
one in.
nice though?
Yeah.
Was it worth it?
No, because I got one in my windpipe, and that's, I think, what happened.
So I haven't had, well, not that I can see, haven't had any responses, but given how the chat I keep losing, frustratingly. So yeah, are there specific traits in your dog that you have learnt to embrace and has now made life so much easier now that you've done that? Can't find anything now. Gosh, I hate it all. There's nobody going to share.
Oh, I don't know if it's.
Ah, here we go. LJ says his thoughtfulness and caution in new situation and busy environments. Now I respect that and give him all the space and time that he needs to make choices. Yeah, definitely. I'm the same with my two. I don't put them in those situations where they're uncomfortable anymore. Iris. It's a bit barky when he's excited. I used to reprimand him, asking him to be quiet, which never worked. I've learned that this is just his way of communicating. Yes. And now that I've accepted it, it's become less frequent, maybe because of no reaction from me. I'm just imagining this big light bulb over the top of your head now, Iris, because, yeah, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
There's
Exactly.
something I want to say to that, but it can be in a moment because
Do you want
there's
to come back to it?
other, yeah, there's a bunch of other comments and they might disappear otherwise.
Okay.
Ellison says inquisitive, needing to know, food fixation, chattiness, though not yet embracing full-blown barking. Okay, that's okay, Ellison. We'll talk about barking in a minute. Sue says, when he barks, I'm leaning to take this as talking information and not just crazy barking. Very good. And Camila, I'm working with a dog who has very limited bucket space. Now I understand that I can help him be the best version of him and not what I want him to have been.
Mm,
Super true, Camila. Also, there are ways to make that bucket space bigger.
yeah, grow the bucket.
But, but that on the I had a conversation with a student today in the class, and it was a new set of classes that started now today with this particular group. And one of the dogs is a dachshund,
Barky,
and
by any
and
chance?
he's Bucky.
Yeah.
And he's Bucky, yes. So at the end of the class, but not, it started off extremely chatty, and then towards the end was less so. And then and it was funny because when we spoke afterwards, and then I said, but then he is a dachshund. You've got to, you know. She says, everybody tells me this. I said, yeah, but it doesn't mean that you have to accept that he bikes all the time. It's just that
So interesting you said
yeah,
that. I had a
as we get
very similar conversation with somebody the other day.
there you
Yeah.
go. And the thing is, that will always tend to give you information that way, or they might be inclined to bike in certain situations when they over whatever, right? Over the threshold for something. But the thing is, as the guardian, you get better at preventing this. So less barky, yes, maybe because there is not so much of a reaction from you. Fair enough, but I bet Iris is also much better now at realizing what is going on emotionally with the dog.
Mm.
So, not, with her dog. And the same for the owner that I spoke to with her dackel. Right now, in the beginning, all we see is they're barking. They're barking all the time at everything, right? But the better we get at reading the dog, we see the things before we can see the changes in their body language, and then we can step in and support them before the bucket overflows and they have to bike. And that is the real thing. That's what's happening. So it's not just no reaction, it's also that we are able to support them better, that we don't expose them in the same way, that we know to give them time to, what's the word?
Process.
Calm down, the
Mm.
resets, all the many different things that we do that help the dog to be a better version of themselves. They'll still like to talk. They still like to talk, and that's okay. But when it happens, we know, all right, this was too much. It's okay. Let's step back. Or today in doing agility training, Falky was barking, and yesterday also. And now I've got to go back at my videos and I have to have a look. Why was that, right? Was it just excitement because loves to do it? Or did I do something that caused some frustration? And if so, what was it? So that I can set up better next time, right? And if it is frustration, yeah, okay, then I want to do something about it. If it is because he's excited, because he wants to do this, well, then maybe I'm quite, I can take the barking.
Yeah, Carmela, recovery is key. Do you know
Yeah.
what, Barbara? I think that was so many really good points because it fits in so well with what we're talking about. Because if we know that we have a dog that it's all about understanding your dog and not putting them in those situations that they're going to find really difficult, which are going to then lead to the barking, or to intervene and to understand the dog because you know them really well, um, so that the barking doesn't need to happen, because your dog doesn't need to communicate that they are feeling a particular way because they're not feeling that way.
Mm.
They're feeling calm and chilled and happy and
Yeah, yeah,
smiley.
yeah. Totally. And Allison's saying that Tessa's now sitting next to her by the desk. So I'm learning to notice the pre-barking signs, and I can sometimes preempt.
Yeah,
Exactly. And then Camilla also says recovery is key, and she's constantly expanding the bucket. Fabulous.
definitely.
Fabulous.
But by the same token, as lady I was working with today, and she doesn't have an issue. Was it to do with what you? Yes, it was what you were saying, Iris. So her dog is a cross between a Springer Spaniel and a Beagle. She's
Nice.
absolutely lovely, such a gorgeous dog. But she's very peoply, and she jumps. She wants to jump up on people. Well, she doesn't so much now, but she did. She's doing super well now. But the lady, her owner, was saying that, when she does get jumpy and she gets stressed out about it, she says, and do you know what I noticed? If I stay calmer about it, she doesn't do it so much. It's like, there's the bucket in action.
Mhm.
You're not adding to the fire, you're not putting fuel on the fire. Yeah, so Iris has said, you're right, Barbara. I'm much more in tune with Billy and can anticipate when I need to change tack of what we're doing to keep things nice and calm and enjoyable. Fantastic. Fantastic. Super duper. Okie dokie. So, what we wanted to do today, well, firstly, is see if you guys had any questions or anything that you wanted us to go through, but we're also going to talk a little bit about reactivity and puppies. We've had a little influx of puppy people in the group, which is absolutely fabulous. So, and they're obviously here for reactivity and puppy purposes. So we thought we'll have a little chat about that. Oh, Iris, she just said she wouldn't be in that position if she hadn't had our positive input.
Thank you, Iris.
I'm rubbish at doing hearts, but we'll go with it. Oh dear. You're all doing fabulous. Any questions from anybody here? Do you want to talk a little bit about reactive puppies, Barbara?
Yeah, well, shall we go to the questions maybe first? Or hang on a minute, we can I can talk a little bit about Falky. And then we can go to the, because we have a question that is puppy related.
Yeah, the other one
Um,
that's on there I covered last week.
oh, was that from last week?
Yeah,
Okay. So, oh, that was the one I missed, of course.
yeah.
Anyway,
It was
so
brilliant, Barbara. Absolutely brilliant.
missed it. Rub it in. Rub it in.
So Sue's asked a question in the
Okay.
comments. How much should you let a male dog pee during walks?
About 3/4 of a liter. That was supposed to be a joke. Why aren't you giggling?
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Give me strength, missus.
Well, let's put it that way. Uh, the battle, the battle to pee or not to pee is always the way I look at it is I want to go on a, so there are sections of the walk where I tell the dogs, you guys can sniff, and if you sniff, there inevitably will be things that you feel you need to pee on, and that's all cool. And then there are sections on the walk where we want to walk. I don't want to stop every 2 meters because you need to pee. I want to walk, right? So we want to both enjoy it. So depending on the dog and the type of walk that you do, I know that most of Julia's walks with her dogs are sniffy walks where the dogs take the lead, and that's totally cool. And that's, what your dogs right now enjoy and what you enjoy and doing together. But I also know that you don't take your dog on your hikes anymore because they're getting on a little bit and they can't hike with you when you go up the mountains and things like that. And I take my dogs when I go for hikes. So then I don't want to stop every 2 meters because they feel they need to pee. So there are rules. And because I'm not always super consistent, there are those moments where we're walking, and then all of a sudden there is a very strong like, but I have to pee over there, and then we have a quick discussion on whether we're going to pee on this bin now or not, right? But on the whole, they are pretty good now. They understand that we're walking on the path, we're walking, they're on either side of me. They're not in heel position or anything. They're just loose lead and they're not supposed to pull, and we just going. And then we stop certain places because I know the dog needs to sniff and they need to explore and they need also time to be a dog when we're out there. And then I tell them now go sniff, and then they're on a longer, I let the lead go, or I clip them on the harness, or whatever. And then I just follow them, and then they can pee as much as they like. But I do not want to step because it's just not enjoyable for me, and I'm of the opinion that we all want to enjoy the walk. Then I take
Yeah, I mean,
Evie.
yeah, I
Yeah.
totally hear you.
And when Falky, and I mean, I sometimes take Falcon, for instance, I take him for a walk. I clip him on his harness. I use a much longer lead, and we go, and it's an area where we haven't been before, and he can explore. And because the lead is much longer, I can move forward most of the time
Mm.
without us getting into any entanglements. If he goes over there, there's more play for this, more room for this. But it's also purposefully, this is when you can just sniff. And I go with two boys, and they both go in opposite directions on some scent, which does sometimes happen. Most of the time they're on the same one, but sometimes, and I'm like thwarted in the middle. It's just not practical. It's just not practical. So we have some rules that we all try to stick to.
I mean, there is a difference, isn't there, with particularly with boys, but I find it with girls as well. Um, that a lot of the peeing isn't because they need to pee; it's because
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
marking,
They
they're
need to
scent
mark.
marking.
Yeah,
So once they've done the big one, and I notice with Dash, sometimes when he's had a good old sniff and he's marked like everything, there's nothing coming out, nothing. And of course, when he marks somewhere, Hattie has to go and mark on it as well. That's very
yeah,
important to her.
yeah.
They are funny,
No,
aren't
it's
they?
the same with the two boys.
But
Absolutely.
absolutely. Obviously, that kind of biological need to do the proper wee thing is really important. You don't want them to be
Mm-mm.
uncomfortable. But the marking, although that's important to them because it's part of their natural behavior, it's not the same. So even though, yes, you're absolutely right, my walks are most of the time dog led, but we still have signals. So for my two, it depends on how they're on their lead as to whether they know they're walking with me or whether they can just go and sniff around. So, Dash has a connector lead, so he's got a sliding thingy that attaches front and back to keep him a little bit more balanced. But when he can and that's when he's walking with me. And then when it's free for all, he's just on his back clip and he can do whatever he likes. I also lengthen the lead out. So again, we've got signals. So they know when it feels like this, we're together. And when it feels like that, I can do my own thing.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
exactly. So you got some rules, and there is no hard and fast how
No.
much, right?
It's
There
what
isn't
works
too
for
much
you and your
hard and fast.
dogs
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
and the environment that you're in,
Yeah. Totally.
you know? Yeah, sending P mails, Carmela. Mm. And some of them apparently are extremely important.
Hot off the press. No, just
Exactly. Yeah, it always makes me chuckle a little bit. LJ says all of our walks are sniffy walks. I love a sniffy walk. I don't know if you guys saw my little video that I did that I posted in the group of our Hattie led walk at the weekend. It was just fun just noticing what she was doing. It was pretty cool. So yeah, the answer is it depends. But by the same token, something that gets up my nose a little bit, well, quite a lot actually, is people that are dragging their dogs along all the time. It's like it's their walk too.
yeah. I mean, but the thing is, you might only see that moment where they're dragging them, and then you don't know if it's all the time. So I
No,
mean, I
that's true.
sometimes there is
Sometimes you
one
see it
spot.
repeated.
Yeah, no, sure.
Mm.
Sure. I'm not trying to, but I would be stupid in defending them. I'm just saying that sometimes we when the places where we walk on the lead, because you have to be on the lead there.
Yeah.
Um, there are sometimes a lot of tourists. They come to look at our lagoon and look at the flamingos and everything. And there are particular spots where they like to park, or a whole bus load, or there might be a cruise ship in town, and then it
Oh,
can get quite
crikey.
crowded. And both my dogs love people, and nothing would please them more than to say hello and sniff them all out and jump up on them and whatnot. And so then and they're pretty good at not, we walk through this on a loose lead, and I talk to them, and you stay with me and whatnot, and it's quite fun. But then there are also moments where they decide, oh no, we have to pee on this bin, and I need to, and that was not my decision. We're not sniffing and peeing this bin. We have to get a bit further away from the people,
Yeah,
because
it's not
otherwise we're
appropriate at that
sniffing
moment. It was
here
not
now.
safe or whatever.
And
Yeah.
then exactly, and then the next moment somebody steps out of the vehicle and goes, "Oh, cute dogs," right? And so then it could absolutely happen that one of them says, "Oh, some sexy female was here a minute ago
Yeah.
and sniffed everything," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 we're going forward," and I'm shortening my lead, and I might clapping my leg, and I might, grab the harness and tug him. Now we're moving on. That does happen, because especially Falky can be quite insistent at times that he has to check out.
So LJ says she only calls Bodhi away from sniffing when he licks where another dog just peed. I hear you. Dogs are horrible, aren't they, sometimes?
That happens a lot.
And Kamala says, I don't allow mine to wee on human things like tins or electric boxes. You're better than me then. I don't allow my dogs to pee on other people's property. So they don't pee on people's cars or in other people's gardens or things like that. So I try to be sort of considerate of other people's stuff. But I can't say that I don't let them
I
wee on
don't like it when
things.
they pee on each other.
Oh no, or me.
That happens. Or me. Well, me not so much, but it happens. They're both sniffing the same lamppost, and then they're both
Yes,
peeing at the same time. And I'm like,
yes,
try to avoid each other. So the one's peed on the other
exactly.
head
And when
before.
you've got a boy dog that is considerably taller than your girl dog, and she will quite
This
literally
is
to
a
get to a
delightful
sniff.
conversation.
I know she'll go underneath his belly to get to the sniff, and then he'll cock his leg to have a pee. And it's like, well, Hattie, it was your own fault.
Lovely.
Silly thing.
Oh.
Right, should we stop this conversation and talk about
Yeah, let's
puppies?
talk about puppies instead. We're running out of time. Yeah. So something that I can share with respect to that is little Falky. So when he first came, 8 weeks old, he was a gem, a complete cherub, furry one, in his X-pen, completely chilled and everything. And then we live in a neighborhood that can be dog-wise quite noisy at times. So I think all of our neighbors have dogs. Well, the one opposite not, but the other opposite does. So, and here dogs spend a considerable amount of time in their yards. Lots of multi-dog households too, and the dogs are in their yards, or they have doggy doors and can just run into the yard. Not mine. I'm talking about the neighbors and what is sort of typical here. And so when somebody goes down the road, people walking, somebody walks a dog down the road, that's mayhem. The entire neighborhood erupts biking. And then one neighbor in particular, when people walk past their gates, the especially the one dog will bike. So very quickly, as the puppies get older and start to take in more of the environment, and then maybe 3 months, 4 months old, he started to react really strongly to the biking in the neighborhood. And I mean, I did speak to other trainers, including Julia. And then often, I still remember one good friend and colleague, she said, it must be so weird for a puppy because they can't see the dogs. They just hear the dogs. Of course, these dogs are in panic mode when they bark. So it's not like a friendly, hey, I'm here, anybody want to play kind of a bark. It's a intruder alert bark, like barrier frustration, and so on behind the gates. So I mean, I tried my bestest to redirect and to feed cookies and do scatter feeds when he was out on his potty times in the garden, but very quickly it was clear that he reacted completely over the top. He is just very noise sensitive, and this particular thing, we still get the odd reaction in a day, but you know, it's much much better. So that's that's an example of a of a over the top reaction in puppyhood already. Because two other puppies, before and the one after, couldn't care less.
Yeah.
So what? There's barking in the neighborhood. I don't care, right? So it's not. You can explain it. You can say, oh, okay, it must be really weird from the puppy's perspective, but that doesn't mean that they all have to react like that. And then him and then the next puppy, they both were bred in the same spot, and they had their first formative times in the same spot, in the same neighborhood. So it's not down to that either. Yeah, because they come from the same breeder.
And we do sometimes expect, don't we? You've got a puppy, it's a blank slate.
Hey, they're
You
not
know,
in
any
control.
if it's reactive, it's my fault. It's the
Yeah, and I
breeder's
know
fault.
that
Whatever.
his dam is um alert bugs
Mm.
and are scared certain people, you know, she'll bug. So that definitely comes from there. Um, but it's not a bad thing. It's just how it is.
What would your top tips be then for somebody that's got a puppy and they are becoming reactive to stuff?
Well, first of all, it's in to stick with the topic, it's just to accept that that is, who that particular puppy is. So it's not good or bad. It's just okay, it's information and it's telling us something. And it takes a while to get to know the dog. I mean, it's always when you look back, right? A year later or so, then you see, wow, you could actually see this the when they were little, they already did this, that, or the other. But we don't always notice when they're little, and it doesn't matter. What
Mm.
is really important is, number one, to recognize when the emotional state is going somewhere where we don't want it. We want our dogs to be relaxed and happy. And if they're not, then we try to not put them in that situation. Now, in this particular case, with the outside barking, there's not much I can do. I can pick my times as much as I can through the puppy schedule, right? When the puppy's likely to need to go out. And then also pretty quickly figure out what can I do to help him. And luckily, like stepping in with like scatter feeds and things like that really, really helped. And then getting caught outside on a potty trip without a toy or treats, that's a nightmare, for the puppy and for you. So you always want to be really prepared in those situations. And sometimes it meant, oh no, we just go back inside because there's no ways he can do his business now because he's just over. Then quickly go back inside, play, and get him to relax. And then we just go out again. And then if that means he's got an accident in his expense, so be it. That's potty training is nothing, right? It's nothing.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's what I would recommend. That is, and then if the reactivity isn't in the home environment, then it's much easier. Then we don't overexpose them, and we try to figure out ways of working with it in less intense ways, you know.
I'd also be there's a couple of things that I'd be working on, I think, whilst they're doing all of that, because yeah, 100%. So one of the things that I would be doing, because you don't want to be exposing to the dog to all this stuff that they're struggling with, exactly as Barbara said. So what you could do instead is give them some sort of enrichment games and that kind of thing, which has the double benefit. Firstly, it gives them something to do and keeps their brains active. But secondly, it's great for helping build confidence. And a more confident dog is going to end up being less reactive, which is
Yeah.
massively important. And I would also be working on things where you kind of that helping your dog to make the right, to make choices. Am I going to focus on the thing over there that I'm excited by, if it might be excitement barking or whatever, or I'm scared of, or am I going to be able to bring myself away and go and do something else instead with my owner who I trust so I know that I'm safe. So those are the other two things that I would
Mm.
probably say.
And then something that really helped us a lot also with respect to the enrichment was a good reminder is that, having the puppy play these food puzzles, cardboard boxes, all those sort of enrichment things, muffin tin game. I mean, there's so many things
Yeah.
that we have in our enrichment course, little games that you can play. And I mean, you can just Google enrichment, or you can go into the reset challenge and find, I think it's on day 2, where we talk a lot about enrichment, like lots of things that the puppy can do, a food puzzle, say, or a slow Kong, a frozen Kong, or something that really keeps them engaged, or meaty bone, whatever it might be, while the thing that could, in the presence, in a mild version of the trigger, so they familiar, but you have to be really careful. So we're not talking
Got to be
about,
super mild, hasn't it, really? So
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
under,
So
yeah,
we would just have the dog inside, the barking goes on outside, all the windows are closed, but you can still hear it, right?
yeah.
And he's busy with his thing. So that helped quite a bit. And then later, when I realized there was still quite a bit of this, and then um, I worked with biking. I had some recordings, and then also biking from YouTube, where I could lower the volume. So I was in control of when it started and stopped, because that's often the problem, that you don't know when the dog is triggered. But then I could work on, I don't know, if your volume control starts at 0 and then the next step is 1, then I might go to 1, and maybe even be further away from the TV or whatever you use to play it. So like really, really, really low, no reaction at all. But I'm always a little hesitant, because you got to be really careful. You can't put up, that's what often happens. The big mistake is that people say, oh, he can deal with this, so let's increase it. Until there is an ear flick or the puppy turns the head, and don't, right? You want to stay at a level where there's no reaction at all, and then really short session, and then end this, make a note in your journal and say I was successful. And then next time you can start at that level again, and then go maybe run up, then go down again, turn it off, give some more food, another successful lesson. So you really want to think of it as you're heating the bath water so slowly that it gets much hotter in the end and you can stand it. Whereas if you had that temperature in your bath water and you were trying to climb in, you couldn't get into the bath. You know what I mean? When you're standing with your feet in a, do you know that? I know you like a bath. Why can't I hear you?
You know I love a bath. That was because I
Yeah.
pressed the button.
But there's nothing worse than you're looking forward to your bath and then you kind of
Yeah.
can't
And
get
you put
in
your
because it's
foot in
hot.
it and you think it's
Yeah.
actually going to fall off.
Yes.
I know. I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that. We've got
So
some super nice comments. Firstly, amused. Alison said, poor Hattie, about being weed on by Dash. Don't feel sorry for her. If you knew the things that Hattie chose to roll in, you'd
yeah,
realize for her this
let's
was
not go
not a
there.
big deal. She probably thought she smelled brilliant. Oh dear. So yeah, and you also said Tess spent. Alison says Tess would spent first 3 years in a public shelter with hundreds of dogs, many of them barking 24/7. The barking alone must have affected her chronic stress, 100%. Yeah, and a lot of the dogs that we get from that sort of environment will have the same. And if you look at when was it? A couple of weeks ago when I did about Hattie's story in there, and there's a picture of her, and I'm fortunate in that I have a photo of her when she was in the original shelter, which is now shut down. It was so horrific, all full of holes and scared and horrible. And it kind of all makes sense when you see that. Oh, I've also put a link in the comments to the enrichment course, just in case anybody who's watching this thinks that would be useful for them.
Hi, Shawnee.
Hi, Shawnee. Um, and LJ, lots of distance. Yeah, distance, volume, visual access, changing visual access things, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
It's all
So
good.
what is confidence building is really important, and not too much exposure.
Yeah.
Um, and the problem is that with the, really wanting to do that early socialization, sometimes people can go a little bit overboard. So some puppies take it all in their strides, and some puppies are a little more sensitive. And then if you see that puppy starts barking at something or shying away from something. So with Stevie, for example, it was very obvious very early that people, dogs, she'll stand and watch them from a distance. I've never seen her go like this because she saw another dog. I mean, I don't bring them close or anything, right? It's just, but people on a walk, definitely. And then men in work clothes or men with hats, that sort of thing, definitely. And that was from the beginning when she first came to us. So I don't know if it had anything to do with this nice lady that smothered her at one of our pit stops. I think I told you that story, huh?
Yeah.
Um, who knows, right? But anyway, so she's a little bit more careful when it comes to people until she knows them, and then then it's cool. So that was from right from the beginning. I mean, she would be very careful to approach, even with John. She'd loved him from like, here you go, and then cuddle cuddle cuddle, and she'd wee a little bit, you know, part excitement, part like, oh, I'm a little bit scared, and then with strangers. So then she stopped doing it with John, but then with strangers, right? She meet a new person and then say, okay, this is fine. You can touch me. I'm not moving away or anything, but often you would get a little wee wee. So it was clear that so we wouldn't do this a lot.
Mm.
Very, very careful and always at the puppy's pace. Never tossing food or anything like that. People would crouch down and invite her, and if she was happy to go close, then she would go close, and if she decided not to, then no, right? And even now on our walks, so our walk are separate from the boys, and it's her decision. If she doesn't want to stay on the walkway because there's a group of people, then we go on the grass. You know,
Super.
and people then say, how are they to learn? Well, that's exactly how they learn. It's nothing to fear. Because if we
Exactly.
overexpose them, then what they learn is this is uncomfortable, this is scary.
Exactly. Exactly that.
But we do also have a question we shouldn't forget.
That was we do have a question. I think we pretty much
Answered it.
covered it there, actually.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yes, about the puppy that was reactive to people and puppies.
Oh, yeah. He was not exposed to regular life for the last 7 of his 15 weeks and is reactive to people and dogs. Unfortunately, I wasn't made aware of this when I offered to foster. My situation isn't ideal for him. Daily,
Thing,
he has
Jackie.
unexpected exposure to people and dogs because I have to walk him for potty needs. We do our best to create as much distance as possible, and if caught unaware, distract him with small games, but I'd guess he's often over threshold. Hope.
Yes.
Yeah, so it, I wonder, So I think we put a reply in the Facebook group anyway, no? But I
Yes.
wonder why he has to walk for potty needs.
Yes.
Um,
Exactly.
so now I could imagine, here's a scenario that I could imagine where, and that is if you live in a condo, on an apartment, in an apartment building, and you don't have a balcony, then you would have to negotiate the staircase or the elevator to get to the outside. And that can be scary
Yeah.
because, people, you encounter people and potentially other dogs if there's other dogs in the building. And then uh, that is just about the only scenario. Or you have a house and no garden, and then right outside the house is too busy or something. I think we had somebody we talked to
Yes, we did,
before
didn't we?
where
Yeah.
just outside the house in the city was just the worst place and the dog couldn't go there. So they had to move a little bit away from where they lived. So there are some extreme situations where that could be the case. But now with a puppy, I think if that puppy needs a bit of a reset, then one could set up a potty station at home with pads. I'm not normally a big fan of that,
No,
but I
neither am
could,
I as a
just
rule.
so that you don't have to go outside, that those trips are dictated by the puppy's need to pee, but by that you can choose to go outside when it's at its quietest, right? And also don't have to worry about the puppy needing to go right now. So if you can put them in the car and drive somewhere quiet, and then you can have gentle exposure there. Anything to take more control of the situation so that you can just focus on the socialization aspect, independent from the potty schedule aspect, right? Because with a young puppy, I would take them outside, have them pee, bring them back inside. I would not walk them for potty because I need to go so often. I can't take them for a walk every time they need to pee,
Exactly.
right? But unless you have and your situation might be different but similar in the way that you can't do it right at home. But then I would, if it's so bad, then I would consider making a plan of getting some kind of sheltered situation where they can relieve themselves without exposure, and then definitely pick super quiet areas and times for the walks, and if possible, not from the house if that's not the quiet route, rather take them somewhere.
Exactly.
And I don't think that, I mean, if he's 15 months old and wasn't exposed the last half of his life, basically, right? I don't think, I mean, I've had, we can, I mean, it is, of course, better to give them socialization, proper socialization, have them have experiences earlier rather than later, but it's never too late for this, so it can start now. But that exposure has to be really gentle and controlled. I think
Yeah.
Susan Garrett calls it, isn't it, planned adventures or something? So you make a plan ahead of time and you think, okay, what is he going to experience today? And it can be sensations, it can be a different place, it could be water, it could be, various things. Um, One at a time, and with you going in when you have the time to give the dog the time that they need. You can do it at a distance. You have enrichment, you have food with you or a toy, whatever works best, to make change the dog's emotional state. It doesn't have to, it's not, socialization isn't all about people and dogs, and especially if you have a dog that's
Absolutely.
sensitive around people and dogs, then you might want to first work on other experiences so the dog can learn that encountering something new or something different isn't scary, and build their confidence first.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
build, I think you always talk about optimism,
And
pessimism
pessimism,
kind of a
yeah.
thing, right? So if you have a dog that is scared of certain things and now encounters them every day, that dog will become very pessimistic because every time we go out, there's something that scares me. So if we can change that and have him have a new experience every day, and it can be really small. It can be, um, let's open the cupboard with the pots and pans and clatter around in there, right?
Mm.
While you
Let's move
eat.
this chair in the living room
Yeah,
from
yeah,
that place to that place.
yeah. It
It's
can
little
be every
things.
day, a
Yeah.
little adventure like that without scaring them. Maybe they're in their expen gnawing on the bone, or maybe it's while they're eating their food from a Kong, or not that I feed everything out of enrichment toys, right? But I would do something where they can't just inhale the football. So
Yeah.
it lasts a little longer, they're enjoying themselves, and we're doing something that's either a new noise, could be a video of YouTube, just always gentle, always gentle, right? And so we can build up the confidence, and then we're going to say, okay, maybe we're ready now to meet a friendly person. And then you get somebody that you know and that you can give directions to.
Mm.
Really controlled. Everything really controlled so that you have by controlled, I mean, you have a way to manipulate the intensity of whatever it is.
As
What do you
is
think, Julia?
massively unusual for us, we've overrun again.
Yeah, quite a bit.
That's
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. We always vow not to do this because we know not everybody's got endless time.
But we get too over
You get
enthusiastic.
carried away. It's so much fun.
Exactly.
All right.
But
So,
we will see you next week. Have a lovely
yeah.
week.
Do we know what the topic is next week? But hang on.
Mm,
Before we go there, I just wanted to say to Jackie to keep keep posting, keep asking questions. Let us know how it goes. We're here to support you in the group too.
yes,
I
100%.
think I've asked a couple more questions around the scenario. So the more we know, the better we can help. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, we haven't decided on the topic for next week yet.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So,
It'll be something awesome.
yeah. If you have
Um,
requests, guys.
it's a pleasure, lovely, lovely people, and we'll see you next time.
Mwah. Bye, everyone.